Welcome to Ignite, everybody, where we explore ideas and resources to help you ignite your leadership and business. And with me today is Ross Hartmann. Ross has an AI company called Kiingo AI out of Orange County, California. Ross, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, Tani. I'm incredibly excited.
We're really looking forward to this conversation as well. Now, even though we've all become ChatGPT experts overnight, Ross truly is the real deal. And what is particularly interesting to me about Ross is that Ross also has this Dale Carnegie student and coach background, which demonstrates to me his deep curiosity around communication, human communication and relationships, which is in a way, when you think about his background as a software engineer and his experience studying Dale Carnegie and human relationships and communication, it's really bringing those two together that AI is all about. Does that make sense to you, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because I think moving forward, we're all going to have to be aware that the line between machines and humans is going to be blurred. And so human relationships, I think, become more important than ever. Yeah. That's
an interesting perspective. Very interesting perspective. So the soundbite for today, in today's conversations, is that you all will walk away with some new information that Ross is going to share with us. And by the way, we'll probably have Ross on again because this information is just changing every single day. It changes. So we'll have lots of new information to share with you, I think, in the future as well. But you will walk away with some new information and an outline for how you can leverage AI in your company and how to begin to shift your company culture to incorporate AI habits. I think Ross is going to help us turn all of that AI noise into some actionable steps for us. Okay, so Ross, let's start. Let's sort of start. I always like to start grounding everyone. What is AI? And specifically then, what is generative AI?
Yes, great question. Okay, so it's a fairly big topic, right? But AI is essentially getting machines or computers to do tasks that would otherwise require human level intelligence. And that is a massive field. I mean, it includes things like robotics and computer vision and just data science generally. But like you were saying, generative AI is kind of the most recent wave of AI that's caught people's attention with the release of ChatGPT in November and all of these other tools that you've seen along the way. But generative AI is the process of taking human content, finding patterns in it, and being able to recreate those patterns in new content. And so there's different types of generative AI. As the name implies, you generate content. So you can generate images, videos, audio, and or in the case of large language models like ChatGPT, you can generate text. And there are a lot of implications for the fact that we can now understand and create human-like text.
Okay, that's super helpful. You're right, because we're not talking about robotics today. We're talking about generative AI. And is your expertise in your company, are you focused on generative or all of AI?
Yeah, we're mostly focused on generative, honestly, okay. With a focus on language models as well.
Oh, okay, great. So if we were to think about the players, you mentioned we both mentioned ChatGPT, but there's several others out there as well. What, who are the critical players out there today, and which ones are you using, and how do they compare right now?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so when it comes to language models, we've got ChatGPT, right? They're the big player, and that model is made by OpenAI. So OpenAI is a company that Microsoft has invested $1 billion into. So they're a little bit, they're kind of backing Microsoft's models as well. And that's one side. And then you've also got the other side of a company called Anthropic. And, OpenAI is to Microsoft what Anthropic is to Google. So Google has invested about $300 million into Anthropic. And Anthropic has some very capable models as well. Theirs is called Claude. It's also available if you sign up for them, a similar interface to ChatGPT. But like you're saying, that's not it. There's also Bard by Google. And Bard has a similar interface to ChatGPT in the sense that it's a chat interface. there are pros and cons to each of the different models, and we can talk about that if we want to go into it.
Yeah. Maybe just give us a brief overview of the different ones. That would be great.
Yeah. So ChatGPT, if you sign up for the premium version, I think it's $20 a month. You sign up for that, and what that allows you to do is it gives you access to GPT-4, which is OpenAI's newest model.
Okay.
And it is its most capable and powerful model by far. It does reasoning, strategy, analysis. And as far as all of the language models, GPT-4 is the one that's most capable from that perspective. In my opinion, it beats out Bard, it beats out Anthropic in terms of reasoning. Now, there are reasons to use Bard, for instance. Bard is what's called always online. It's connected directly into Google's knowledge graph. And it's also connected to the internet. So it always gets updated information at all times. GPT-4, OpenAI's model, is not inherently connected to the internet. It only has information up to September 2021 for technical reasons around the training of language models. But there are plugins that OpenAI releases, such as a browser model, a browser plugin, and that allows you to use ChatGPT with the internet. So you can pull the latest information, get sources and footnotes. So that's pretty cool, right? So why would you ever want to use Anthropic? Anthropic they just recently, a week or two ago, came out with a new version of their model that has what's called 100,000 token context window. So what does that technically mean? It just means you can paste way more text into your conversation, and it can remember far more of the conversation. There's a limit with these language models where ChatGPT can only remember the last 6,000 words. I'll have to check on what Bard's context window is, but Anthropic can manage 75,000 words, which is about the length of a book. So you can paste in all your customer support tickets, data privacy willing, obviously we should talk about that. And then you can put in a ton of information and have it do analysis and pattern matching across that. So those are just the language models. There's also image models, there's audio, there's video, and there's so much to go into.
So for this conversation, then let's just stick with the language model, maybe. I think that's probably a good idea, because otherwise we'll be here all day, right?
Absolutely. And I should briefly mention that Bing has now native support or a native chat feature in the standard interface. So that's actually powered by GPT-3 and maybe 4. It originally was powered by 4, but I think they adjusted the model.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about both the security and then maybe the moral implication too, right? So, but first let's talk about security and how secure and what can I put in there and what is, what should I be concerned about?
Yeah, so these models, remember I mentioned in the very beginning that we take data, we look for patterns, and then we output the information or the patterns. So that data that they input is what's called training data. And the companies that make these models, they're always looking for more training data, because typically the more data you have, or more precisely, the better data you have, the better your model is going to be. So they're always looking for more data. So there's this question then of, do we want our data to be used to train these models? And when it comes to enterprise situations, many companies, and understandably so, say, no, we don't want our data to be used to train these models, right? So there are things you have to do to take steps to prevent the models from training on your data. With OpenAI, for instance, if you're using the ChatGPT interface, there in the settings, you have to turn off conversation history and training data. And that will make it so that they don't train on your data. And then as far as if you use the API, OpenAI says they just don't train on that data no matter what. So if you're technical and use the API, that's also fine. With Anthropic and Bard, you'll want to check out how you can request that they don't train on your data. And then additionally, let's say that's not enough for a company and they want to take a next level of security. What you can do is, let's say you have your data on Google Cloud, or you've got it on Azure, you've got it on AWS, you've got it on some sort of cloud platform, as many companies do. You can deploy these models on your virtual private cloud. And what that allows it to do is that the data goes from your data store, your data warehouse, to the model without ever going out over the internet. So that increases security, obviously. The data is not actually touching the internet. And then you can essentially prevent your data from training these models.
That's fascinating. And I think really, really helpful because we've all been talking about don't put anything on there that you are concerned about and, IP, et cetera. So it's good to have those guidelines around that.
Mm.
So I want to shift a little bit into the moral component behind this, because we've all seen, Sam Altman, the last couple of weeks, and we've heard from Elon Musk and Satya Nadella, and certainly Sundar Pichai as well, right? They're all talking about the concern for the moral implication around this. If you could just summarize that and then give us your take on that, Ross, that would be great.
Yeah, there are a lot of concerns, honestly. So the way I like to think about this is a transformative technology. And as with any transformative technology, it makes waves, it disrupts things, and it can be used for both good and bad. I mean, fire can be used to cook your food and get more nutrients, or it can be used to burn down a building. It depends on how you wield the tool. And I do look at AI as a tool. And so there's definitely the opportunity for bad actors to use AI maliciously. And I think this is something we really need to look out as a society. It opens up a lot of opportunities or bad opportunities for scams, for fraud, for disinformation, for propaganda. That it's interesting because now we don't necessarily know what's real on the internet. Maybe in like 2016, you saw some deep fakes and you're like, that looks pretty good, but I can tell the face looks a little off, the voice looks a little weird. But that's not the case anymore. AI has progressed to the point where the voices sound perfectly clear. They sound exactly like a human. In a matter of minutes, you can train an AI model on someone's voice. I saw a news article that was a parent received a phone call from their daughter, what they thought was their daughter, and it was a scam call, but it was in their daughter's voice, and she was panicked. And that is a very real thing. I mean, if we're talking about how we want to deal with some of these implications, I can say for myself and for my family, we've put together a passcode, a passphrase, to where if anything seems awry, we have to say, what's the passcode? How can you prove that you are who you say you are, essentially? It's wild times that we live in, but that's what it's come down to because we don't know what's real and what's not when it comes to digital media. Mm-hmm. So there's that opportunity for malicious actors to use this technology. And then I think we do have to think about, as a society, the job implications. There's going to be a lot of disruption as far as jobs changing, shifting focus, and some honestly going away and some new ones coming about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's I love that idea of passcode, especially for a family passcode. Okay, so let's shift now into what leaders and CEOs need to know about changing their culture. What would you say are the two or three things that are important for CEOs and leaders of organizations to bring AI, generative AI, into their culture, and how to shift sort of the attitude around AI in their companies?
I could go on for this for a long time.
I'm sure.
I'll keep it relatively brief. The first thing, though, is that CEOs and leadership teams should just get a hold of this stuff themselves and start experimenting. Like, get yourself excited first if you're not already, or if you don't understand the full capabilities and limitations. Get hands-on with these tools and find out how it can help you on a daily basis. Now, once you do get excited, and I guarantee if you are using it in some of the ways that it can work, you will be excited about the implications. Then now you get the rest of your team excited. That's the thing. Get the buy-in, right? And all you have to do is really show them how it works and how it can improve their day-to-day and unlock new capabilities as well. So once you've got that buy-in, and once you understand what it's great at, what its limitations are, then we get to a practical it's kind of a practical question of, okay, is this worth it? What's the ROI? And there are a lot of different techniques for that. There's A/B testing between teams. There's obviously employee surveys and feedback. You want to put together a sort of blue sky brainstorming session. Which roles and which tasks can AI apply to? And what can it help us automate and or improve productivity for? Once you can do that, you can start to roll out a pilot program, essentially. And then from there, you can deploy on a wider scale and fine-tune your models. I would say just because you deploy it doesn't mean you're getting the maximum use from it. You want to fine-tune what you've got to get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I loved hearing that. So get excited about it, start using it. And I think a lot of people are using it, maybe not busy CEOs, but if you are a busy CEO, what I would recommend is if you can't do it, have someone on your team do it, but have them do it, because this is such, as Ross said, this is transformative software and technology, and it will be transforming all of our lives. So let's get on the bandwagon now. Okay, so Ross, what about, it makes sense to get your hands on, get excited, have a blue sky brainstorming session is what I heard, and then roll out a pilot program. I know, just for an example, one of my clients has just started doing all of her marketing. She's writing blog posts, product description, etc. So a lot of that kind of content that goes on the website around products, she's just assigning to ChatGPT, and it's coming back with a lot of content needs to be edited, but it still is a great first draft for all of that.
Yep.
So she's excited about that. It's really helping her and her team. It's not taking any roles away. It's adding value and giving them more time actually to be more strategic. So that's one of the things that I've noticed about it. What about those maybe cultures that are a little resistant? How would you what other ways might you encourage them to play?
Well, I just want to add on to the thing you said before as well, to kind of lead into this.
Yeah.
You're saying if you're a busy CEO, maybe see if someone on your team can work with this. I would almost say if you're a busy CEO, that's more reason to do this yourself. And I'll say why.
Good.
So for instance, when I have a call now, what I'll do is I'll take a URL of the company that I have a call with or the individual. I'll put it into ChatGPT's browser model and I'll say, research this person or research this company. And it'll go through it. And then I'll say, I have a call coming up with them this afternoon. It's going to be about this. Can you prepare some call notes for me? And then it'll give me bullet point lists of call notes. And I'll ask, are there any insightful questions I might ask around this topic? Boom, we get some questions. And the point is, think about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and if these models can help you free up some time. And so that's also what I would say to any companies that are a little hesitant around this is that's totally understandable. Absolutely get it. Where can you use it to make what you care about and what you love easier to do? What are the things that you just don't enjoy doing, you struggle doing, or you wish it wasn't a part of your business? See if you can start to bring in the AI models to do those pieces. Focus on what you love.
Fantastic. I love that. Ross, this has been great. This is a great overview, some great nuggets, and some good kind of action steps for leaders to start thinking about and taking on. I really appreciate this, and I know others are going to as well. Any final thoughts that you have to share with our audience today?
Yeah, this one's an interesting one, that just because we adopt this and we use it and it's rolled out in our companies and everything, we have to make it a behavior or a habit. Because I can say for myself, I live and breathe this every day. And even still, I will sometimes find myself doing something manually where I could get a first draft from a language model, or I could ask it for thoughts or brainstorming or problem solving, where I'm doing things that I don't necessarily need to be doing. And so developing the habit or the behavior change of how to adopt language models is a challenge, but it's incredibly rewarding. And that's where you get the most value out of it. Imagine you've just been given a digital assistant who knows how to read, write, summarize, brainstorm, problem solve, and knows pretty much a cursory introduction to any topic that's on the internet, right? Where can you delegate to this digital assistant? Just as if you had someone else in your organization, delegation is going to be key here. So think about that, always have it available and see where you can get the most value out of it. And I think making that mindset shift and that behavior change is where you can get the most value.
Awesome. I love it. It's a mind shift. I love that you use the word mind shift around that. So Ross, thank you. It's been great to have you here. And for those of you who are looking for some help in your company, please, Ross, I think you're open to being included, and certainly as a consultant, Kiingo I know can come and help companies navigate some of that AI transformation. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy to do a discovery call and talk about where your company could benefit from language models and what the next path might be for developing a roadmap or a strategy around AI.
Awesome. Thank you. And as you can see, he's a real joy and pleasure to work with. So Ross, thanks for being here today. And we'll see you all on our next episode. Bye.
Thanks, Tony.